Alright, fellas, here we're back in our Pokemon Masters video for the Kimono Grimsley and Mega Absol, I guess. Overview? What a character of all time, right? This guy is a fun guy. Okay, I know you can't see my mouse, but it's okay. What the hell do they do with this guy? Okay, look, I get it. Grimsley gimmick, big gimmick man. You did not have to do all this. You really didn't. I would prefer this guy had been good. Give us another good Mega Absol. It's super cool. Instead of whatever this happy horse shit is. It's just... Alright, whatever. So, looking at Grimsley's kit, he is a sprint field character, dark type, of course, weak to bug, whatever. Looking at 6-star AX, level 140, he's got 750 HP, 420 attack, 228 into the defenses, and 352 speed. Fine enough stats, really nothing crazy about them, but they are not bad. Level 150 with the field EX roll as well added, 440 attack, over 840 HP, 258 defenses, and 400 speed. Again, these are fine stats. Nothing crazy, nothing bad, good stats. Mega Evolution gives him more speed and more attack, bumping that to over 500. Solid stuff. All right, starting out strong enough, nothing spectacular about the stats, but definitely nothing terrible either. Bite, okay. Let's keep this in mind here. Sprint field. He's got bite, okay? Bite is great. This is good for flinching stuff. Great gauntlet tool, solid high score event tool, good stuff. Flinches can legitimately be, very, very helpful in a lot of content that does not negate them, right? Which is most of it, frankly. He's got Snatch, stealing stats, all right? Characters can make some good uses of Snatch. I mean, stealing stats has always been really, really helpful. A lot of good cases where you can steal enemy stats, especially those that have Fluid Fortification, or the random passes that triple enemy defenses when they have a certain stat raised, like the Morgan Ultimate Battle. That's, again, good legitimate tech. Feint attack heads. All right, this is where we start getting into it. 2 gauge, 120 power, 1 enemy, never misses. It's activated whenever he has more than 50 HP, deactivated when he has less than 50 HP. The move never misses, and it grants one of the following effects at random. Confusion, Dark Zone, buffing physical moves next to all allies by 1, reducing sync countdown by 1, buffing evasion by 2, applying free moves next, buffing his own physical moves next by 2, lowering his attack and attack and special attack by 1, and lowering his defenses by 1. He gets one of these effects at random on using this 120 power whatever move. Okay, let's say this stuff is good. Obviously, it's good to get some good stuff. Getting this, very, very bad. Okay, I think the big issue with Grimsley units is just sheer inconsistency. The most usage you can probably get out of this is a legendary arena situation where you're willing to reset probably often to get the buffs you need, which is probably going to end up being the evasion buffs. Plus, again, combine that with bite and buffing with stat buffing ability with snatch, and well, he's probably going to be able to make good use of this. Outside of that, though, this is way too unreliable. This is not really great damage to begin with. 120 power is not impressive by any means. It's lower than Thunder, right? Not even, again, not a move that's considered good anymore. And these effects, again, are too random to be reliant. There's a big drastic difference between applying Confusion and setting Dark Zone. Those can have some very different, strong effects. Mostly in the case of the Dark Zone, comparatively to where the Confusion could be helpful, but for the most part might not be. And again, also potentially dependent on the game mode. I could see there being a good case to be made where Confusion is frankly more helpful to have than Dark Zone. Again, some cases like a Legendary Arenas might have that. Think about Uxie or whatever. You're probably not going to have too much use for the Dark Zone, whereas Confusion maybe on bar 2 or something. Just an idea to throw out there. Again, it's just something really to consider. This guy is going to have way too much randomness in his kit to be very reliable at really anything other than flinching and stat stealing. He's got his trainer move as well here, which has a smaller HP he has remaining, the more reduced sync countdown. Of course, playing into that sprint roll here that he's got. But I mean, that's not bad. This here, -4 sync count, up to -4 sync countdown. I'm going to guess that he has to be at below 20% HP for that though, so good luck. And it also applies endurance. See, endurance is great. But why is it not applied on entry? Because if you want to be able to make the most use of the sync countdown, you want to have as low HP as possible, and endurance enables that. I'm confused. Is it obvious? That confuses me. It's like he wants to take incremental chip damage, which again really just reinforces in my brain like this guy is just built for the legendary arena and basically nothing else. Like, could you bring him to some dark, weak, high score event? Maybe, probably. But again, this is so random to deal with. I mean, look, I know people who want to rank in that game mode and they were willing to go for any number of RNG, but oh my god. If this guy is your make or break, I frankly almost feel bad for you. It's actually, it's pretty insane. But again, kind of bringing that up, if you are willing to play around that randomness, if you are willing to do that and you are like someone who wants to rank high in an event, this guy can do it. I will say though, I do not think this guy is going to be that great for like a dark week, what's it called? Damage challenge. There we go. Took a little bit, but I got it. I think his tools can be very good for a ultimate battle. A lot of gimmick check stuff here: stat stealing, flinching, confusion, dark zone for setting like a field condition and stuff like that. Like, this is good if you can proc all of it. Again, flinching is very negated in a lot of not negated in ultimate battles, though it can be in some of them. But obviously resilience. Stat stealing is obviously going to be really good, but usually you want other stuff to be stacked on top of it. Like Sigma Suit Leer, he's got buff blocking and is just really good in general, right? He's got great nuke, he's got great DPS, and he doesn't have a whole lot of RNG in his kit. That's another one there. Just one example to throw out there. He's also got the same move here, which has more as attacker's grades, the greater the power of this attack. This is fine if you're running it with a support, which, again, ultimate battle setting, you might be. Also, I love how this is clipping off the side of the page. Look at the sync tiles on the far left. They're clipping out of the boundary of the box. That's hilarious. But whatever. But if you're not running this guy with a support, again, gauntlet scenario or something like that, you can see this be very, very bad, especially given this. And even if you're running it with support, if you've already used your support's ability to buff attack, and you proc this by sheer luck, lack thereof rather, that's just going to hurt you, of course, in that front. Anyway, he's got his passives here as well. High risk, high return. Grants the following effects the first time a sync move is used each battle. Applies damage guard, increases physical moves next by 6, and takes 60% of his HP, remaining HP, and damage. This is intentional, you'll see why. But obviously the physical moves next could be pretty good, and the damage guard is very good given what we're about to find out. The die has been cast. It grants the following effects to the user when enters a battle: raises attack by 1 to 6 at random, and defense by 1 to 6 ranks at random, and special defense by the same amount. Random. Just random buffing. Again, if he's running solo with this, or with this, you've got that 1 out of 6 chance basically, or whatever the probability is of proccing plus 6 attack. And then the defenses as well. So RNG, we love it. This should also proc on Mega though. He does keep the same passive, so hopefully it does proc on Mega. And he's also got this ability, moves and sync moves crit, guaranteed crits. That's good. It's one good consistent thing about his ability, guaranteed crits. By the way, having the field DX roll, he does have the guaranteed dark zone on his sync move as well, so you're not just relying upon this to set dark zone. I do want to mention that. I think it's fair enough. Anyway, so Grimsley does Mega Evolve. He gets his attack buffs, he gets his speed buffs, he gets the physical moves next, damage guard, and taking damage equals 6% of HP. And you're probably like, why does he take the extra damage when he needs, above 50% HP to use his move? It's because it changes. It's Feint Attack Tails now, not Feint Attack Heads. Whereas activation conditions when his HP is at less than 50%. Yeah, which I will say, that's fucking worse. That is not good. It is very, very hard. If you want to make use of this move to its full capabilities, it is going to be pretty tough to be able to maintain this guy below 50% HP without him dying. Especially if you don't have the endurance proc from the trainer move here. Which, by the way, the fact that he takes 60% HP and damage is probably, after that, is probably your best time to use this. So you get that endurance and you don't freaking die. And of course you get the most sync countdown possible. Just something to consider. But whatever. Regardless, the power of the move does upgrade. It gets up by 1.5 times extra damage, 180 max. By the way, let's always consider, at 1 out of 5, it's going to be 150 damage instead of 180, but whatever. You probably are aware of that. Anyway, whatever. Doesn't really matter too much. This guy's abilities change. Never misses, grants the following official effects 2 times at random: flinching, confusion, or trap, turns the field of play into dark zone, raises the evasion of all allies by 2, applies free moves next to all allies, increases physical moves next to allies by 2, reduces sync countdown by 1, applies damage guard, increases his own physical moves next by 4, and then lowers his offenses by 2 and defenses by 2. So again, this procs 2 times at random. So, you could get very lucky and you could get, oh, I set dark zone and I buff my allies' physical moves next by 2. Or you could get uber unlucky and debuff both your offenses and defenses by 2. You know, not really something I'm willing to gamble on too much. Pun fully intended here. Oh boy, gotta love that. And again, honestly, frankly, assuming that this isn't like something that they just make it, I'm assuming that this is like stopped by things like impervious, or in this case headstrong right here. I'm assuming that much is true. I hope that much is true. Good lord, because if this is like Jacques' ability where it like debuffs your stats, then that's kind of bad, but I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure it's just regular debuffs, so it is preventable by headstrong and unbending as like a grid skill and a lucky skill. But again, honestly, his debuffs aren't really even my issue. My issue with him is more so the fact that his abilities are just too random. Like if you knew you were getting like all allies +1 or +2 physical moves next, or you were setting Dark Sun or something like that, even if it's just like a 1 to 2 use move or something like that, it's better to know what you can do instead of hoping and praying with RNG. Again, I think this guy's going to be a great gauntlet character simply because, you know, we love ourselves some stat stealing, some flinch spam, and then, you know, all these random effects that can be super good. And especially in a case of like the legendary gauntlet, it's not hard at all to have to run unbending or headstrong or whatever, or both, whatever, as a grid skill or a lucky skill. You know, making grids that are like catering to the weakness of a certain character is pretty much half the battle in that game mode. Again, it is more so up to the randomness and like your willingness to play around that randomness. Again, on top of like the RNG with 60% flinch chances, which I say 60%, it says 30% right here, but you know, I'm gonna assume you're gonna pick up aggravation. I'm just assuming as much. I don't know. Like this guy's let's also know this guy's the first character to introduce this ability here. If you do have him 1 out of 5, you can guarantee get plus 90 sync power here to basically give him the same similar. Basically the same amount of power as like a regular sync move would have, which doesn't actually equate to the same thing at 5 out of 5, but whatever, I guess. It doesn't really matter that much. But he does have, despite being a mega sync pair, you know, all mega sync pairs on this tomorrow are going to be getting that buff where they get plus 90 sync damage from these 3 sync tiles here, which if you can pick them up, great. If you can't, you know, it is what it is. But I think most of the time you're probably going to want to, assuming that character wants to sync a lot. Anyway, so yeah, as like a skeleton, again, my biggest issue with this guy is his RNG. I mean, obviously it's a Grimsley unit that's like half the battle. That's the intent with him. RNG is not great, and also having to basically keep yourself at a low HP is very, very bad as well. Like this guy effectively is having to stay below a certain amount of HP means that if you go above that, well, you lose out on a lot of your abilities and a lot of your damage. You're forced to spam flinch or stat steal or whatever, right? Which, could it be good? Maybe. Could it be bad? Maybe. Right? This depends on the stage. And honestly, you know, in cases outside of like legendary gauntlets, if you're not able to make use of this a lot of times, it's probably not going to be too good for the fight. I think especially in ultimate battles, this is going to be the main thing you want to make use of, because a lot of characters can do stuff like this. Like, I'm pretty sure regular Grimsley can do snatch and flinch spam, and you don't need to get a variety unit to do it, right? I don't know. I don't think I really need to justify why this unit kind of sucks. Or is just not worth going for. But again, I guess I do want to really just advocate, yes, this guy has use in some place, but is it worth going for? Hell to the no. It really just is not. Anyway, whatever. Again, 60% HP. Like, bro, has to stay below 50% HP. You know how hard that is to micromanage? This is not a game where you can where he can micromanage his own HP very well. Like, he has recovery abilities to go above HP, but if you go above it, then, well, you lose the ability to use the move. And then you have to go below it, and you have to hope that going below it means you don't get O-code, right? And even if you have, let's say, for example, you know, you have to go below it. What if you have damage guard and you can't go below it? And then you're stuck using these other moves. Or, you know, again, what if you just get O-code? Or, I don't know, like, again, imagine the one partner who can prevent this guy from like taking a lot of damage. Same as all Giovanni. Like, that's the one big character. He's a dark character. He's got dark zone. He's got, you know, stacks of like sync move up next and stuff, which is what Grimsley kind of wants. Like, he's a god tier partner for Grimsley. Except for the fact that, again, he has to take all next effect. This is like, yes, we can prevent Grimsley from taking sync damage, which he cannot negate at all. He can prevent Grimsley from taking AoE damage, which, you know, Grimsley can dodge, but what if he doesn't, right? You know, great stuff. Okay, and so Giovanni takes all that damage, and he's got to do this. He's got to heal. And not only does he heal himself, he heals all allies. So imagine he heals Grimsley above his 50% HP threshold. That's going to be a lot more realistic than you might think. And again, this is one character. Like, if you don't even have Susceptible Giovanni, your situation with Grimsley gets 10 times harder. Outside of Legendary Gauntlet. Yeah, I don't... that's the biggest issue with this guy. And the grid, frankly, the grid does not make him much more appealing. They try to give him like some damage challenge stuff with super effective next on the trainer move. All right, not even debut Dark Zone. Wow, debut Dark Zone, whatever. Rising Tide and Dark Zone sync moves up here, and you know, blah blah blah, stuff like that. Like this is good sync stuff. Like 50% sync multiplier here, 120% here. He's got himself the multiplier here. Like he's gonna have a decent nuke for sure. His nuke is not gonna be bad, pretty much by any stretch of the word. Is it worth it? I still wouldn't say so. I still would not say so. Despite like the good offenses, the fact he's got the sync tiles he can work around with, and again, he's got good multipliers, I would not say it's really too worth going for. I don't really think it's that fantastic or that impressive. Like, again, could it be good? Yes. I don't think it's like uber good. I don't think it's broken or like super de-duper good. Especially if you want to consider someone like Archer. Look at Archer as another great example. Archer's got 400 effectively like 400 power in his sync move after, you know, the techie X roll and, you know, that type of investment, blah, whatever, right? He's got himself innate cakewalk in the grid right there, and speedster sync. These are similar, very similar multipliers to what Grimsley has in a variety unit that is a year and like 8 months older. Yeah, that's just something to consider there. And again, there's even other better examples, like Special Costume Zinnia's got a god tier nuke. Cygnus Osiris has an amazing nuke. Like there, N has a really good nuke, right? There's a lot of we've got ourselves a lot of dark type characters that are very effective in nuking, and you don't need Grimsley to do that. I don't even know if he is the best nuker. He probably isn't. Again, Archer, I would not be surprised if he ended up doing more or similar numbers. Archer does have a lower offensive stat though, so that is something to consider. Anyway, whatever. Other than that, he does have Dishearten 9 here, Foul Fighting, Hit Interference Opponent, HP Recovery, some Gauge Refresh stuff, NPR on Snatch Catalytic Cure for HP Recovery, Dark Zone, all stats down, Immunity, Universal Gauge Refresh, frankly, Fight Aggravation, probably his most valuable tile, Healthy Healing, Unyielding 2, First Use Status Move, Damage Guard, and Fortuitous 9. Okay. How do I word this? The best way you can make use of all these abilities is the Legendary Gauntlet, and that is literally it, frankly. Like, again, his utility does, like, I just smacked my mic. His utility does go everywhere, and it can go everywhere. Again, you know, stealing stats, debuffing stats, flinching, you know, confusion, stuff like this. This is great for basically every game mode. It does a lot of solid utility, but frankly, with how inconsistent he is and how much a lot of other characters can already do this, that does not make Grimsley super valuable to go for, nor super impressive on his own, because again, a lot of other characters can do this. Imagine how many characters have Gobsmack or something like that for confusion, or how many characters have like the ability to randomly debuff defense, or have like Unfortuitous 4 or something for random debuffs, or how many characters even have Fortuitous or just the ability to buff their own stats in general. Again, it does not make Grimsley unique, it does not make him insane, it is just a gimmick that he's trying to carry himself on top of all of his other gimmicky stuff, and that is why I'm really just not a big fan of him. Again, you can make good use of it, you can do whatever you want, you can find a way to make him work in a lot of different content, but that does not make him a great option or a straightforward option. It makes him an option that seems more roundabout to actually end up making work, instead of an option that is effective at a specific role, which is what you usually are going to want. And again, these jack-of-all-trade type of characters, which kind of is what Grimsley is, but he's more RNG in doing it than being a jack-of-all-trades, because his damage isn't even that impressive, but whatever, regardless. You know, again, good in Legendary Arenas, but not much else, and even then, in the Legendary Arenas, I'm sure you're probably going to have a headache trying to make this guy work with his randomness factor in his buffing, like his evasion stats here, trying to get Dark Zone up for certain nuking requirements, you know, on top of having to spam flinch, while his other healing methods are in Catalytic Cure and Healthy Healing. Good luck. Good luck, Legendary Gauntlet players. Anyway, I wanted to ramble about Grimsley for a little bit. I apologize if you didn't like it. I like Grimsley as a character, but this guy's kit, I'm not a big fan of. I wish Mega Absol got better treatment. Should have been with Astrid. Or just should have been a better kit. At least in my opinion, but whatever. I'll see you later. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all for watching. Good luck on your summons for Grimsley. I hope you don't do them, but if you do, and like you enjoy Grimsley as a character, I hope you can enjoy this character's kit, and I hope you get some good luck. That's all I gotta say. I'll see you later. I hope you all enjoyed. Peace.